Let's take that conversation forward. Sandip Sabharwal on the show then. Sandip, hi, afternoon. What is it that you're making of the resilience that one is seeing from the two-wheeler pack, especially at a time when passenger vehicles definitely are seeing a bit of a slowdown?
Yeah, so two-wheeler dispatch numbers from the auto companies are not so bad as compared to the four-wheelers. Now, we do not know what the actual picture at the retail level in terms of sales is. Like in the interview which was going on, so the auto dealers seem to be indicating inventory levels which are much higher than what the companies themselves are indicating. For example, I think Maruti indicated that inventory level could be around 36 days, whereas the statement of this gentleman was that it could be as high as 70 days. So I think we need clarity on that, because if inventory levels are so high, then we could have some issues with the auto sector going forward.
And we're just trying to decode whether those issues are going to be real or not, because that's been the case with a couple of other industries as well, and especially ahead of festive season, one needs to be watchful of that. In fact, in terms of the other sectors right now, IT is also doing okay, and Zomato is the other one which is actually up almost 5% in the trading session after it got a thumbs up from JP Morgan. Sandeep, what's the view on Zomato at $250 a piece? Should one buy afresh?
I would think a large part of the positives are factored in at this price at least. So I think from here, for the stock to move up from here, the growth needs to be higher than what the management has projected, and margin picture has to also improve. So until that happens, I think with the kind of move that Zomato's had from 50 levels to 250, it largely factors in all near-term positives.
Okay, factors all the near-term positives. That's the view coming in on Zomato right now. Let's do one thing. Let's take a short break on the show. When we come back, we'll discuss what's happening in the markets, put the spotlight on the commentary coming in from a couple of important ministries as well.
In association with SBI, Solid Bank की solid backing.
टिप चाहिए, पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ। डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा और मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
आउट 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 प्लीज।
अभी मत गिर गुरु।
यस। ओ तेरी, क्या पीट रहा है यार?
सिक्स मोर।
कैच इट।
भाग भाग और भाग।
नो। यस। ब्रो, who are you supporting?
I'm neo trading.
Baby, let's go for a holiday.
Real action is happening in the stock markets. Download the Kotak Neo app and start neo trading. जो तेज हैं, वो आगे हैं. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
Indian exports are sailing on the wave of growth. Get your investment on board this opportunity. Invest in HSBC India Export Opportunities Fund today. NFO closes on 19 September 2024.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Are there any particular, trends that you're really excited about, when it comes to the global beauty space?
B goes with routines, and that is as conservative as that is, that's the way forward.
What is your strategy, for success beyond borders?
To be very honest, we have not tried to differentiate our international Indian diaspora to the Indians that are living here. We wanted to really offer the most authentic, the most genuine and the latest collection to the people that are out there.
Presented by IDFC First Bank, always you first. Associate partners, Brand Buzz Ventures, Fiona Advisory.
Caring for the world begins with a home that cares. This is my home. ये मेरा संसार है. Introducing Sansar, mindfully crafted home decor fabrics for those who choose to care, for those who live consciously. Sansar, a D-Decor brand. Live consciously.
Journey of 1,000 miles begins with a strong foundation as we proudly rejoice our 68th anniversary.
we celebrate trusting relationships together, wherein we secure joy during your lifelong journey. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ.
Back with closing trades right here on ET now. Flattened out from the top of the day. That's where the Nifty picture is right now. Look at the broader markets. That is at least one pocket where you're still maintaining that heads up with advances, at least account of about 111 to about 74 to the declines. Some of the pharma names are the ones which are weighing heavy today. Cipla, DRL in the red. Consumption names like Britannia, Nestle as well in the red as we speak. L&T has been down today. Bajaj Finance has also been lower. Reliance down about 0.5%, and Maruti as well weighing heavy on the markets today. On the flip side, and this is just the large cap picture that I'm talking about, Titan is the one which has sprung up about 3%. LTIM has been holding out very smartly, 1.25% today. We just flagged off the move on Hero MotoCorp. That continues to hold out. BPCL is also seeing a further fillip, about a 1% uptick coming in there. Wipro, Tata Steel, Hindalco, ITC, they're all holding out in the green at least so far. But Sandeep, just want to pick up on the point that, you were alluding to just the other day, that the government is finally doing the right thing. And, this is in context to the GIC REOFS. Although, there are reports which are indicating that those bids worth about 2,300 crore rupees so far, the demand is only half of the total issue size. Just wanted to understand how you're reading into the piece.
Yeah, so I think that's not a fancied stock simply because of the fact that it's also not performed. But I think the government has the opportunity for divestment into many defense companies like even the power financiers, railway stocks. Many of these stocks have grown multifold. So I think there's less interest in this stock, but I'm sure that if they go and offer do OFS in many other stocks, then I think there'll be more interest.
So that's the view coming in, but just pull up the stock of Easy Trip Planners. That stock has managed to surge 12% after the company has announced that they're looking at diversifying into the business of EV buses. So interesting at that, a bit unrelated and kind of diversified, but for now the street is liking it. Kunal, would you want to comment on this one? Easy Trip Planners and Gujarat Fluoro, if you have a view on that?
So Easy Trip I don't track, I'll skip that. But Gujarat Fluoro is something which is looking attractive because the stock today has confirmed a breakout of its 200 DMA. So it's a classic price volume breakout, a very similar kind of a price level where the stock has been testing over the last many months. I think over the last 3-4 months, the stock has been testing this 3,500, 3,550 mark. So I believe after today's volume move, the stock could probably eventually break out this 3,600 congestion. And if that happens, it could be almost a 300 point of breakout of a consolidation, which means on the higher side, we could be looking at 3,800 as a fresh target for Gujarat Fluoro.
Okay, that's some of the buzzers in trade right now. But in the meantime, US lawmakers are due to vote on a legislation that could actually limit a few Chinese biotech companies and how they operate in the country. So what is US Biosecure law and how is its implementation going to impact some of the Indian pharma players? Shrishti is here with that explanation.
Well, certainly we are seeing that the US government is clearly working on to reduce the dependence of import of some of the supplies for the pharma industry coming in from China, and they're already working on an act which is called the US Biosecure Act. And the key development to note is whether or not in the times ahead there's a likelihood of the Biosecure Act getting passed into the law, and the Republican Congressional Office expects the House votes on Biosecure Act on 9th of September, wherein the measures including barring federal contracts from doing business with 5 Chinese biotechnology firms have already been listed. And going ahead, the industry experts do believe that it can have a whole host of impact from all the CDMO suppliers as well as on the whole pharma industry as well, because as we know that the whole world is actually dependent on China for the supply of the key raw materials, some of the key raw materials for the pharma industry specifically. And if this transition transition goes through, if the law get into the works, then definitely this will impact the industry on a whole. But for this particular law to get passed, because of that, there were some concerns, including the quality control, supply chain security, as well as national security, why the government actually thought on working on such measures. But analysts also believe that if this geographical expansion, or rather the transition, takes place, then India stands out as an opportunity. The players are expected to benefit in the long run, because they do believe that the proposed bill can provide an impetus to the non-Chinese CDMO players. A couple of companies have already highlighted that they are witnessing some of the fresh inquiries, increased momentum in the inquiries, new plant visits as well as even if the bill is shelved, then there's an indirect positive ramification for the Indian CDMO players. Obviously, this might not happen overnight. It will be a transition process, but in the long run, a lot of companies have already started looking to diversify, and this China Plus One policy could work well for the Indian CDMO players. Some of the companies like Syngene, Divi's Lab, Loris Lab, Newland Lab, and even Piramal Pharma are expected to be key beneficiaries of the same.
Okay, point taken. So we are watching out for some of those names, and definitely those stocks on our radar. Let's see whether that law does get passed or not, and what impact and business does it bring to the companies back home or not. In the meantime, just taking stock of some other companies as well. UTI AMC, of course, the story that ET now broke for you, that perhaps Tata's could be the one looking at picking up some stake in UTI AMC. Since that day, that stock has been fairly active. Today as well, it's up almost 5% in the trading session. Chola Financial Holdings is reacting to the latest initiation coming in from Goldman Sachs, wherein they are saying that this business is ripe for a bit of a re-rating, and ditto can be said for AU Small Finance Bank as well. In fact, on a couple of these financials, Sandeep, what's your view if you track Chola Financials or AU Small Finance Bank closely?
Not really, none of these two.
Okay, Nuresh, do you look at either?
So, looking at Chola Finance, that's the one which has been a strong performer over the last 1 year in the whole basket as such. So, the stock has been continuously making higher tops and higher bottoms. Fresh highs also done recently above the 1450 mark. The next target for the stock would be closer to 1650 levels, looking at the previous moves. So, bias positive on the stock and remains a buy on dips.
Okay, point taken. So that's a view on a couple of these stocks. But Shrishti is still with us. So let me ask her about Syngene as well, because that stock was up almost 5% earlier, has cooled off a bit, but seems like DAM Capital has met the management and has come out with some fresh updates, Shrishti.
Certainly, that's the key trigger of the Biosecure Act as well, because the DAM Capital had a meeting with Syngene where they say that the Biosecure Act can come through by the early next month as well, and the Indian companies are likely to benefit for the same. The maximum benefit for the Indian companies may likely be seen in the small molecule research segment, and that's the business area of Syngene. What they are saying that this transition could take for 7 to 8 years, because innovators have been given a deadline, and in the next 7 to 8 years, there should be a gradual shifts from the suppliers that are dependent coming from the China, as well as for now they do maintain their FY25 guidance for now, but they do expect a pickup in the revenues in the second half of the financial year, and they are hopeful that the funding of the biotech environment that was a little bit suppressed in the US markets will also recover, and on the back of that, Syngene is in focus. But for now, the key trigger seems to be like the Biosecure Act getting passed into the law. That is something that we are watching out for, but Syngene is definitely excited regarding that.
Yeah, that sure is. Sandeep, have you been tracking this story at all? I know the erstwhile favorites are the likes of Sun Pharma and DRL, but what's the pharma pack looking like? Any new additions that you may have made?
Not really, but I think the developments could help many of these companies which Shrishti was talking about, but I'm not tracking them closely. And the second part, which is also very important, is that these are very long gestation things. So even if something happens, the actual supplies from any new initiative could be maybe after 3 to 5 years. So I think that's what at least people should keep in mind before jumping into invest.
Well, a lot of stocks buzzing around from the broader markets. Maybe Nippon Life AMC, something that you should pull up. UTI AMC has been doing well. 361 has also managed to see a bit of a perk up. And BSE as well is up almost in the last few minutes and very close to the highest point of the trading session. Let me ask that question to Kunal now. Kunal, some of these financial markets ancillaries, BSE, the AMCs of the world, 361, would you be a buyer in any of the names?
Yeah, I think the AMC stocks, HDFC AMC, something looking attractive. Nippon Asset Management, that's NAM India, that's a chart which has been looking very attractive. UTI AMC, if I'm not wrong, the stock has confirmed a fresh high for itself, breaking past about the previous levels of 1175, 1180. So that's a stock which is looking attractive. From the exchanges stock, I think MCX was one of the first ones to get into a very big uptrend mode. The stock had a huge resistance at the 4,000 mark. It's crossed those 4,000 levels, went about 5,000 mark, and I think it's somewhere close to 5,200 to 50 levels the last I had seen. So the stock has been doing pretty well. BSE is something which has been going through a corrective phase over the last 2-3 months. So there was this phase where I think BSE corrected by 30% in the last 3 months or so, had come back towards its 200 moving average or slightly below those levels. But the stock has now tried to get into a recovery. It's completed a 50% retracement of the correction which the stock had shown over the last 3-4 months. So which means that the stock has completed a corrective wave, is now looking attractive for a potential retest of the previous highs, which could be at 3,000, 3,300 plus levels.
That's some solid gains on the sort of stock market ancillaries, if you will. Varun Sabutu joins in on the show. But Sandip, any of these stocks related to stock markets that you like, or are you not buying anything in the markets right now?
So these stock market related stocks obviously have their own cyclicality. So right now, because the markets are doing well, so many of these stocks directionally also doing well. But I think if you need to choose among them, the annuity businesses are the AMC stocks. So I think for people who want to hold for the long term, the AMC stocks are something which they can look at on corrections.
Okay, point taken. So that's a view on some of these ancillaries right now. What else is buzzing in the market right now? Well, on the losing side, Marico is a bit under pressure, and then some of these other pharma names like Global Health and MedPlus Health is also down. OMCs as a pack have done very well for themselves this year, but Sandeep, is there more steam to go? Would you buy afresh in some of the OMC names?
OMCs are tough to invest in because of the fact that we don't know what the government will do on the fuel pricing. In the run-up to the elections, state elections, if there are some fuel price cuts, then those can directly hit the margins of these companies. If not, I think the margins could expand substantially. So I think it depends on what the government decides to do, and I find it very tough to predict.
Indeed. Okay, Sandeep, we'll let you go on that note. Thanks as always for taking the time out and joining in.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.